Assalamu alaikum, friends of BookBytes. I have a very exciting guest on today, and I've had a fantastic weekend. I'm actually broadcasting live out of Cape Town this evening because I've been at the Franschhoek Literary Festival, which is one of the greatest and premium festivals in South Africa as well. So it was just a weekend of books and celebration and stories. And one of the authors, an author we'll be speaking to this evening, Andile Cele, was a debut author, um, had a panel there, and there'd been just robust discussions around this beautiful book that I've just read called Braids and Migraines or Migraines. Um, the Island Prize judges called it a novel of insight and emotion. Cele has the talent to both shatter and uplift, making her an invaluable new voice in South African literature. Um, Andile Cele grew up in Stanger, KwaZulu-Natal. She was born in 86 when apartheid was nearing its end, to a mother who has worked as a domestic worker all her adult life. She has three siblings, one of them a brother who is autistic and nonverbal. Andile's advocacy for mental health awareness stems from the experiences they faced as a family, with a member who was and still is, for the most part, misunderstood. She dedicates her writing to her mother. Andile, welcome to the show. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to read this beautiful book. Congratulations on a very satisfying, impactful read. And once again, welcome to Book Bites.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
So you just come out of a festival as well this weekend. Tell us a little bit about the book fair and what was it like? What's the weekend been like? What were the discussions like? How are you feeling right now?
It's still very like surreal for me, going to usually I go to like book festivals as just as a person, going to listen to other authors. But this time going in as a panelist myself, but nervous here and there, but it was so great. I met Abi, who's the
Yeah.
author of The Girl with the Louding Voice and her new book now, and so I roar, which is amazing. And yeah, it's just an amazing atmosphere, celebrating writers and books and our stories. So it was lovely.
Absolutely fantastic. And I always feel when you're at a book fair, you actually come out of there feeling like wanting to write again. That inspiration just explodes out of you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I just came out of of writing Braids and Migraines. So it definitely it gives you that spark of what the next book could be like, do you want to continue with the story? Do you want to write a new story? So it was really fascinating and encouraging, and just listening to people that have read the book. And I mean, the book is only a month old. So I was like, not really expecting people who have already read it. And I met people who have. And so that was just so heartwarming. Um, yeah, it's just an amazing experience. Mm.
So when I look at it, I mean, you've been commended by the Island Prize for Unpublished African Novelist 2023 as a runner-up. So obviously they had great feedback for you. I got the novel and news of the novel through Karen Jennings. So it's great to have mentorship on that level.
Yeah.
What was it like writing the story, and how long has the process taken you to bring the initial draft together?
Together. Yeah. I will say that it was quite a journey. It was quite a journey because the initial Braids and Migraines, I had started writing it. I was living in Pretoria at the time. It was always going to be a story about education, and it was always going to center around two siblings, an older brother and a sister, coming from disadvantaged background, and just navigating the basic education system, and wanting and having a dream to further their studies. So it was always going to be that way. And that initial manuscript didn't work as such. Like, I got feedback from a couple of I won't mention the name, but a publisher in Joburg, and that didn't work. And then when I moved to Cape Town, yeah, with some experiences, some work experiences that weren't so great. And I found a common theme in my life, which was like bullying has always been common, you know. I'd always find myself in that position, whether it was in primary school, not so much in high school, um, but varsity level, which was more emotional, and then work level, which is like, yeah, another form of bullying. So that was like um a common theme. And when I went back to writing the book, um I wanted to journey with that theme and like perhaps reconcile with it through these characters. And that's how I got to um putting it together. And when I was writing it with this in mind, it felt like now it has like a purpose type of thing, you know. It's going somewhere. It's not just about mm, don't know how to explain it, but it felt like it was doing something, you know. The characters were um overcoming, but they're also becoming, they're also being parts of themselves that are, you know, when they're in the township, when she's young, the protagonist, you can see her happy. You get to see that part of her life and how she navigates school and making it to this prestigious school in high school. So, um, the common theme that brought me back to putting together this novel in this way was seeing um, the theme in my own life of bullying, and I just wanted to, um, you know, interrogate that a bit more through fiction.
What I appreciate, like hearing you speak, having just finished, reading the novel, is the process of self-interrogation that happens when you're trying to put something down to authenticate
Mm,
your telling of the story and to authenticate your characters. You really
mm,
feel your way through building on that narrative. So I really appreciate listening to that aspect because you're also trying to be impactful through the telling of the
mm,
story. And it's a significant story because this theme of bullying that you talk about, this idea that yes, we're post apartheid South Africa, there's opportunity, 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 but we
yeah.
see that there's still barriers to entry, both at school level and in the workplace, right? So let's talk
Mm,
about these barriers to entry that exist in the minds of people based on historical prejudices that we think should have dissipated by now. What is
mm,
still causing us to have to firstly fight to get into those spaces and then have to apologize for it? Let's talk about that.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's so hard, like when you think about it and when you find yourself in that space. And I think when you and when it happens for the first time, you're really taken aback. Um, um, in a workplace, for example, when it happens for the first time, when you realize that, oh, um, this is not happening for me because I am a certain way. You know, I look a certain way and I sound a certain way. Or when you voice your opinion and it's not taken in, it's like, um, you shouldn't say, don't you know that you shouldn't say anything? It's not said, it's not explicitly said, but it's felt. It's these feelings that you feel. And I think it really comes back to our history and some of these conditioning will really take a while, I believe, to be wiped out of our society. So I think maybe it's really about reflections. And I think what I'm trying to say through the book as well is the reflecting part of it. And, you know, um, sometimes I don't think people are aware of how, or maybe they are, of how powerful their positions are in the world. Basically, because um, you're a white woman, for example, and if you say something about Andile that doesn't sound right, um, Andile will be punished for it. and those are the type of things that it would be nice as a country if we reflected on them, because they're there, but I don't think we're speaking about them. And I don't, and it all comes to, I mean, we're coming from a very traumatic background, history, historical, collectively, and we also have the personal. So we haven't, as a country, we need. I feel like we all need therapy. I think it's just we need therapy. We need a way to reconcile with our past. And I think when we start having those conversations, that's when we can actually speak honestly about the barriers, whether it's in the schooling system, work, and we can talk about access to education even. We still have townships that don't have libraries. So things like that, then we can start talking about that. But I think the foundation is really talking about acknowledging that we come from a painful past, and that comes through in societal, social engagements. I don't know. I'm trying to say in social settings, like your school, like your church, or work, and all these other places. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. No, I mean, there's so many things to unpack there, and rightfully, you speak about healing trauma that has to happen and that hasn't actually holistically happened. It's like there's
Mm,
just been this survival response, and society has had to tumble forward into new dispensations.
mm,
You mean we're on the World Showcase right now, where a small group of people is saying, "Well, come save us from South Africa," and after all this hard work, it's actually put where there's parts of the world are taking their word over the majority to say, oh, bad things are happening out there, which is damaging for every one of us, no
yeah.
matter what happens. And
Yeah.
then you
For
look
all
at
of us. Yeah.
yes, yes, and you look at
Mm,
the victimization that Nomandla faces, and she's not really believed when she takes her query and her sort of issue to higher authority. They're like, oh, I'm sure there's an explanation, a
mm,
reasonable explanation.
yep. Yeah.
She has
Yeah.
to sacrifice a very big opportunity. Nobody understands the cost to her. Let's talk
Mm,
about the cost, the violence of poverty, having to also beg for a place in society, and the cost of being at the mercy of someone's judgment.
yeah. Yeah, that's a very tough one. Because I have a lived experience that I shared yesterday. Um, and I think I felt a bit re-traumatized by sharing it. But I found a better way of sharing it now. Um, and so it has to do with a workplace, right? And a new workplace. And as you know, like workplaces have um, a probation period, like 3 months, and so on. And so moving into that space, amazing opportunity. Like if you know Stenga, so I'm from around the townships there. Like, okay, fine, I grew up in a farm, but there are townships there. So basically that's my background. And my mom is a domestic worker. So what was given on the table was amazing. Just as amazing as what was given to Numandla. Um, and I jumped on that opportunity, and I left another one that was, when I look back, that was more stable and familiar. So I jumped into this opportunity. It's amazing, like from remuneration to opportunities and all these things that were promised. But when I got there, um, I reported to someone who didn't really understand, who didn't probably didn't even want to understand um, my background, you know, and I mean, it's a workplace. It's really not about the background, but this person did not want to acknowledge my voice or my ideas, or but I mean, I'm hired for that, so they did not want to acknowledge that. um and because I was coming from another place, I still have a sense of confidence. I was like, I believe in myself, I know what I'm doing, I'm qualified. And so that was my, the eagerness and the approach. But to her, it came across as like, who do you think you are? I can
Mm.
take this away from you, you know. And she did. Um, and in that moment, really a lot is going on. Immediately you are like, damn, I am sorry. It's like immediately I'm going back to being poverty, you know. I had an apartment, so it's like, okay, I'm probably gonna lose the apartment now, but I didn't think, thankfully. But I lost a lot from that process. I was back to being unemployed and just jumping from here to there, um, until now, where I have a stable environment again. That happened a while ago, but it's just one of those things that you lose. I remember being asked that. I think Nomandla goes through a similar experience where she's asked to stay low. Um, in not so many words, I was also like warned to stay low, but I was not thinking that I've never had someone just take away an opportunity like that. But it did happen. So it's just one of those things, and I don't think my experience is unique. And I acknowledge my own my own mistakes and the excitement of just wanting to jump up to the most glamorous thing, whereas sometimes it's just not the way, you know. But these things happen, and they're not unique, and yeah, so it's hard, but we keep moving.
I think with the best of intentions, sometimes life pushes you out of a place that might just look glamorous, but ends up being draining you of life force and taking away that real impetus to make a difference, because you know you're intending to make some aspect of difference or create change or positive change in your work, in the things that you
Mm,
do. I mean, you see
exactly.
that with
Yeah.
We see that with Nomandla's story as well, where going to Cameron House and getting the scholarship is such a great thing, but she finds more power in her process without giving away too much of the story. But she has to go through that really dark sort of phase,
Mm,
being misunderstood. And it's incredible that sometimes these situations that life throws us into allow us to survive or to thrive. I think
mm,
those choices are there, you know.
definitely.
So
Yeah.
talk to us about specifically Nomandla's story and the title, because you do refer specifically to a poem around the title Braids and Migraines. Talk to us about
Yeah.
envisioning the title and your protagonist in particular.
Yeah, it's quite an interesting one. Really, it's about the braids part is about Nomandla claiming her power in terms of deciding what she wants to do with her hair, um, the type of braids that she wants to put on her hair, the type of hairstyle that she wants to do. It's really about her, um, coming into her own. Um, yeah, and she discovers this at a Cameron house because she didn't do hair before, but there she meets people, young girls like her, and they have this ritual of going to the salon and doing their hair. So it's really um, the girlhood part of just being a girl, you know. Um, and the migraines part is can be metaphoric as well for um, braids are painful when you put them on, but for Nomandla's sake, it can be the migraine part is um, the difficulty she encounters while she is in this journey of discovering, um, the type of hair that she likes in the school, the pulling of her hair, the questions from, Mrs. Rogers. So it's like it's a play around her coming to herself and just reclaiming herself through the metaphor of braids.
Hair and skin continues to be political in South Africa, and we've heard of many cases in schools and in work, well, not specifically in workplaces as such, but at the level of school where children are discriminated against, misunderstood, or bullied on the
Mm,
basis of skin, on hair, and how hair is presented in society that is either seen or not seen as acceptable, inevitably linked to race. So
mm,
this is the huge problem that we're faced with.
mm,
How are we
mm.
to deal with this going forward? While I want to caution that my question is not saying, hey, it's our job to fix races.
Yeah.
I think self-reflection is important. So how do we help our children in the future to say, look, be proud of your heritage, be proud of who you are. It's not your job to fix a racist response.
Mm, mm. Yeah, I think sure it's a tough one because I am just thinking about the characters in the book when they have to um fight the system. It's like these are children. They shouldn't be, doing that. They should be going to school to study. Um yeah, I think we must just continue having these conversations. It's going to be hard, but it's really continuing to have these conversations with young children and letting them know that their hair is beautiful, whatever shape, form. And if they know that, they will be able to recognize when someone is being weird about it, you know. Because some children are not the same, I believe. Some will keep it inside them, and just walk with the pain. Um, so I think if at home as well, parents, guardians, sisters, and because I know some families, it's the makeup of the family is different. It's just encouraging young children and letting them know that they're beautiful, whatever shape, form, how the hair grows out of their scalp. It's just them knowing that so that when um, something strange happens in school, they are comfortable in coming home and sharing that. And maybe then the parents can talk about it. Um, you know, I think maybe, yeah, I think that would be a start. Um, I know some schools are already doing that. I think through children as well. I remember a story in Pretoria. I think it was Pretoria Girls High. It was Zuleka. Yes, I think that's her name. It also had to do with like hair, how it presents. And there was like a discussion that formed around that. So um, it comes from the fact that she knew that there was nothing wrong with her hair. It starts at home. So I think if we can have those discussions at home, it would be great. It would be a start. Yeah.
I think Zuleika wrote a book recently. We had her on the show a few weeks ago called
Oh, lovely.
Live Like Me. And then
Okay.
there was another author who wrote about hair as your crown on your head, just for children in general. And then obviously this is your form of activism because Resolving Nomandla's story also tells a way to get through that
Mm,
aspect of bullying because the racism is a powerful way in which she's bullied and her privilege, her highly earned privilege is taken away from her. So I think these
mm,
conversations also start in the form of these stories that are written by
yeah.
writers such as yourself. And it's great that we can have these conversations. Andile, thank you so much for giving us your time this evening, for writing this really precious book. And I know that you're going to have a beautiful run of it as more and more readers get hold of copies and read them. It's a powerful story, and we wish you everything of the best. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Shafinaaz. Thank you. I hope I'm saying the name correctly.
Absolutely brilliant. I was we missed each other at Friendship this weekend because I think you might have been on panel and I was in another session. But I'm very
Yeah,
happy that you had a chance to talk about your book there, and I'm sure we're going to meet at one of the festivals this year anyway.
definitely. Definitely.
Absolute
Thank you so
best
much for
wishes to
having
you,
me.
and
Thank
wishing
you.
you lots of accolade and many, many sales. That's it
Thank you
from
so
us on the
much.
BookBytes team. A salam from all of us. And that's it from us this weekend. That was Andile Cele with Braids and Migraines. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.